Ever get that feeling like you've trusted someone a little too much? It's like a universal thing, right?
Yeah, you can never really be sure sometimes.
Well, get this. There's this old, like, ancient law we're diving into today, and it claims it's got this whole trust and power thing figured out. It's called Law 2. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies.
Use enemies. Wow, that's pretty direct.
Right. And I mean, to be clear, we're not saying you need to, like, go swap out your entire contact list.
Yeah, no enemies list needed.
But it is about seeing this age-old problem, this trust issue, from a whole new angle, something to think about.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not just suggesting that friends can be a problem. It's actively saying, too, like, utilize your enemies. There's got to be a reason for that, a strategy or something.
Well, the source we're looking at, it argues that friends, even the best ones, they can be dangerous because they often know, like, all our weak points, those vulnerabilities.
Ah, yeah.
And they might even be jealous of our successes, even subconsciously.
It's true. I mean, think about it. Someone who had to work to get back in your good graces, they're probably going to be a lot more careful not to mess that up again.
Makes sense. They've got more on the line.
Exactly. It's like built-in loyalty
It's
almost.
almost like that saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. This is way more like active. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. It's not just about, like, knowing what your enemies are up to. It's recognizing that they could actually become valuable allies, especially if they've gone through the ringer to prove they're worthy.
Oh, man. This is making me think about Michael III, the Byzantine emperor. He put all his trust in his friend Basil, gave him power and everything.
Oh, no. What happened?
Basil ended up staging a coup, overthrew him.
Oof. Yeah, talk about misplaced trust.
Imagine if he'd, like, chosen someone who used to be against him but then proved themselves.
Right. They probably would have been a lot more loyal because they know what it's like to be on the outs.
So, are we talking about, like, calculated unpredictability? Is that how you describe this idea of balancing friendships with, I guess, rivalries? Because
Yeah.
that sounds kind of intense.
It does, doesn't it? But it's not necessarily about, like, manipulating people. It's more about being really aware of the dynamics in every relationship, the give and take.
Okay, yeah.
You're not out there trying to make enemies, but you're not afraid of that dynamic either.
So it's more about being aware that the possibility for that kind of relationship always exists, which keeps everyone on their toes a little bit.
Yeah.
Makes you
Right.
wonder if even our closest relationships have a little of that going on, you know? Like, have you ever had that moment where you're like, wait a minute, what's their angle here?
Oh, yeah. I think we've all been there at some point or another.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to be aware of your relationships and the different dynamics at play.
So true. It's like this ancient law. It might seem extreme, but it really just emphasizes how powerful it can be to really understand people's motivations and approach trust strategically.
Absolutely.
This is giving me a lot to think about. Listeners, I want you to think back on your own experiences. Have you ever been surprised by a friend's, well, envy? Or maybe a former rival surprised you with their loyalty. And I mean, the big question is, does this ancient law still hold up in our world today? Or should we maybe leave it in the history books?